How's it going, guys? Shizukat's here, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Today I'm going to be doing a Tikilen clear on my JP account with some commentary, so you guys can understand some of my thought process when I take on this fight and apply it to your own clears. With Donetsk coming up very soon in the next update, we'll probably also be getting the Fenrir 4 weapons implemented as well. That being said, for this video, I'll still be using equipment from the current patch, so the top end of weapons are going to be the battle-tested weapons. Before we get into the fight, of course, we have to take a look at the units and equipment that I'll be using. For units, I'm going to be using Teo and Lynette as my only 5 stars. And for 4 stars, I'm going to be using Camilla, Lucetta, and Ashlyn as my hunters, Mabel and Mina for dancers, and Kurtz as my debuffer. Now, obviously, my 4-star units are going to be quite a bit sturdier than your guys' 4 stars due to their high level and Awakening 3, but compared to actual 5-star units like Scarecrow and Honnet, the damage output is still going to be noticeably lower. Another difference due to my 4 stars being such a high level is that they will also have some SP cost reductions from being level 80 or level 72, because those are the levels where you get the SP cost reductions on their skills. So just keep that in mind as you're watching the video. Teo and Lynette are both Awakening 1 on my account, and to compensate for that, I'm going to be using weaker equipment, both offensive and defensive, so that their stats are roughly where they would be without Awakening 1. Unfortunately, I can't do anything about their speed stats, so those are just going to be 50 higher than usual, but Teo is going to be casting regen most of the time anyways, and Lynette is just super fast innately, so she would have outsped everyone anyways. For weapons on our 4 stars, I'm going to be using BT bows on all the hunters, as those are the best available weapons right now. For Mabel and Mina, I'm running a Fenrir 3 on Mabel and an Innocent 3 on Mina. The reason I have a Fenrir, or the reason I think you guys should be creating a Fenrir weapon for dancers, is to prepare for Glossum, which is the next arena champion. Glossum is a physical-based dancer, so you're going to want to prepare a Fenrir Fan 3 for him in advance. As for Kurtz, I have a Fenrir Knife 3. This could honestly be anything, because Kurtz is not here for damage. He's basically just here for his debuffing. For defensive equipment, I pretty much have my defensive equipment set up so that my special defense, or my magic defense, is a little bit higher than the physical defense. So if we take a look at the stats, if we look for an example, we look at Camilla's stats. She has 443 magic defense, and she has 401 physical defense. I basically try to set that up for all of my party members. Obviously, with Teo, the Apothecary is a very physical-based class. Just having an axe equipped in the first place gives innate extra defense, so we're just going to have his magic defense just be as high as possible. As far as the accessories go, I tried not to use anything super fancy that you guys would not have access to in the English game. Some specific ones that I have equipped are on Mina. I have Dragon Scarf 2 and 3. Since she's going to be in the front row for most of the fight, since I don't want to expose Ashlyn to any high levels of danger, because I want to use him for the crit phase, I equip these Dragon Scarves in order to make sure that she always has the SP needed to cast any of her abilities. Additionally, on Lynette, I have Beastly Scarf 2 and 3. I always recommend putting Beastly Scarves or other HP regen items on the character that is behind the regen caster, in this case Teo. And the reason for this is because that character can never be the recipient of the regen. So we want to have health regen on them in some other form, which is why we have the Beastly Scarves. Most of the other accessories are just some extra HP, Bronze Crest of Wind, or some fairly common stat items. I believe I have the Thunder Rune 2 on Mabel, and then everything else is just like pretty normal stuff. On Ashlyn, I specifically put a bunch of speed accessories on him, with the idea being that once we do have to bring him to the front row in order to address the crit phase, I want him to be faster than Teo, so that he can come to the front line and then immediately get the HP regen casted by Teo, so that he isn't at risk of being low HP at the start of any given turn. For skills, I have, for Camilla, we're going to be using her 2-hit AoE, that's going to be her most important skill, of course, being able to hit all of the enemies twice since they are all weak to bows. We have her single hit 160 nuke and then single target heal. Although I don't really expect to use the single target heal, but it's just a nice skill to bring just in case. For Mabel, we have her 2-hit lightning, her 1-hit AoE lightning, which is going to be the main skill that we're going to be using throughout the fight. We also have her AoE magic and magic defense up buff, as well as her AoE wind defense up buff, which we can use to stack with Teo's. For Lucetta, we have her 3-hit bow, her single hit nuke, and her 1-hit AoE with defense down. We're going to be using that AoE defense down for most of the fight. For Kurtz, we have Shield Burst. This can knock down enemies' shields, regardless of what their weaknesses are. This gives Kurtz some usefulness during pretty much every stage of the fight. We can use it to even out the shields between the two adds, since one of them starts with one more shield than the other, and that will allow us to break both of them simultaneously. We also have his anti-attack, which we're going to be trying to keep on Tikilen throughout the fight, just to make sure that she does as little damage as possible. And then, just in case, we have his single target heal as well. For Mina, we have her 2-hit fan, we have her 1-hit light AoE, which is going to be the skill that we're going to be using the most. And we also have her AoE defense buff and her AoE heal. For Ashlyn, we have the guaranteed crit, we have the guaranteed AoE crit, and we have the 2-hit random target with the poison debuff. But we're mostly going to be using the crit skills for obvious reasons. On Teo, pretty much the only thing that we're going to be using are his lightning nuke and the regen. And then finally for Lynette, we have her 3-hit fan with magic defense down debuff. The 2-hit fan, which is just an option that we can use in case we want to hit the enemy exactly twice, and we don't want to have to use 1 BP on boosting a regular attack. And of course, we have her iconic AoE buff skill. So, with all of that information out of the way, let's get right into the fight. Alright, so let's get started. Turn 1 is basically always going to be the turn where you have the most potential to just have somebody die, because all 3 enemies are going to be able to attack on turn 1, and there's kind of nothing that you can do about that. So we're going to open here with AoE regen on our full team with Teo, and then we're going to be using Mina to cast a full defense buff on the front row, and this is just going to save a little bit of HP on turn 2 when Tikilen goes for her AoE sword attack. So one thing that I think is pretty important to keep track of during this fight is the perceived threat level of the enemies. Based on whether or not they're using their physical counterattacks, as well as if they're using their aura attacks, or if the middle ad is going to be using her shield, her ability that buffs Tikilen's shields, you can kind of gauge how much damage the enemy is going to do on any given turn. Alright, so now that we know that both enemies are going to be using their physical counter, we're going to be swapping to our back row. We're going to be doing it like this instead. I'm going to take this opportunity to cast anti-attack on Tikilen, make sure she's not doing a whole lot of damage, and we're just going to continue casting regen, since we have 2 new units coming up to the front row. Or sorry, 1 new unit, because it was pretty slow. But we do want to get our regen just on all of our members so that we don't really have to worry about any incoming damage killing our units. Alright, so on this turn, neither unit is going to be using their physical counter. We're going to go ahead and switch back to our archers. Our team's at pretty high health. I'm going to take this opportunity to even out the shields on the 2 ads. That way we'll be able to break both of them at the same time. Coming up soon, we're going to want to prepare for the break on this turn, so we're going to want to reduce both of their shields down to 1. I'm gonna do that by casting the AoE for both of my hunters, and we're just gonna cast another regen on this turn. We don't want Mina to attack this turn, so we're just gonna have her cast a heal. Alright, we are now all set to go. We're gonna switch back to Mabel for this one. We'll go ahead and initiate the break here. I'm just gonna continue casting. We'll go ahead and have Lynette buff everybody here. We'll go ahead and have Ashlyn cast his AoE crit on this turn. We'll go ahead and swap back to make sure our regens are still up. Alright, so now as both of the ads come out of break, obviously they have a chance to utilize their physical counter, so we're gonna go ahead and back everybody up. And we're basically chilling here. Okay, so now that Tikilen is below, or is 6 or below shields, we know that the middle ad is going to be now casting the skill that brings Tikilen's shields up by 3. So for that reason, the perceived threat level on this particular turn is very, very low. So what I'm going to do on this turn is I'm actually going to have Lynette attack here, and then we can just have our other units. So I know that she's not going to use her physical counter, so I'm actually going to use Shield Burst from Kurtz on this turn, and this is going to once again even out the shields between the two ads so that they can be broken simultaneously in the future. So there's no physical counter on this turn. We're going to go ahead and switch back to our hunters. This is going to be doing 4 shields to Tikilen, which is fine. That means she'll end the turn at 4. Okay, switch back to these. We'll go ahead and cast more attack down with Kurtz. And let's go ahead and cast this. So my goal with this setup is actually just to keep Tikilen at 6 shields or below and not break her at all. And this is going to mean that when the ad comes out of her second break, she's still going to be stuck bringing back Tikilen's shields. I'm going to go ahead and swap here. I'm going to use 2 BP. 1 here, and then we're not going to... We'll go ahead and just cast the defensive buff here. Okay, so in order to break on this turn, okay, we're gonna go ahead and do 3 BP here. 2 BP, light here, and then we'll cast the buff. so I do kind of want to be careful about how many shields I hit Tikilen for this turn. So I'm going to do these, and I'm just going to use anti-attack again on Tikilen. So that way, with this setup, I'm not breaking her, and she'll be left at 1 shield as the ads come out of break. Alright, we'll go in with Thunder. We want Shield Burst here to even them out. We can use Light on Mina, and we'll just go ahead and restore some more regen. Okay, so we have one of them using their physical counter. So we can go for Shield Burst here. And this currently does not break. I'm gonna go ahead and just use 3 BP on this one. And we're good to go. We'll go ahead and just do this. Neither of them are using physical counter this turn, so we can reapply debuff. And should be fine. So using Mabel is actually just really nice for this particular setup specifically because Tikilen doesn't have weakness to lightning, so you can knock down the ad shields while not reducing Tikilen's shields by too much, so that you can keep her in that range without breaking her. On this particular turn, I'm probably gonna go for a heal on Mina, since I don't want Lucetta to be too low HP, because I don't believe she actually has regen on herself right now. We will use her simply to attack Tikilen this turn, I think. We don't want her to use her AoE. And this should be fine. Oh, she just heals this turn, okay. Alright, on this turn, no one using any AoE, so... Or no one using any physical counter, so we're gonna... How close can we prep for a break turn here? We can go down to 2. I'm gonna go ahead and pre-fire this. Oh, that's slightly dangerous. Alright, we're chilling. Set this up once again. We'll go for another anti-attack here, and we can set this up as well. And this particular break should be the end for the ads, so go ahead and set this up. This. And we're good to go. Alright, so I'm going to just use Acid Rain here. And I want to try to set up... Well, it should be pretty easy, because Lynette can just cast her debuff on the next turn. I think actually, in order to set up more turns of the debuff, I think I want her to attack with this turn. We'll do this. So this way she is not getting broken. Alright, we're all set. So we'll go in with 2 BP here. We'll go ahead and use a max boosted light from Mina. This, I believe, does 330. And we're basically set. Yeah, this is fine. So it's 190, 210. Max crit. We'll max this. Alright, now we want to see how many hits we can get in before she phase changes. I'm going to go ahead and apply regen here. Okay, so she's going into this phase with 6 shields. Go ahead and we're gonna obviously use the guaranteed crit here. I'm gonna take a sec to apply more anti-attack just to make sure it's still up. And also I want to get a bit more SP on Lucetta as she is getting a bit low. So we're gonna just take this nice and steady. Alright, on this particular turn where she's using her special, I want to use the wind defense up. I want Mina to be in my front row, because we just don't want Ashlyn to die. We'll just go ahead and throw out one of these. Make sure everybody's topped up. Apply our defensive buffs. Alright, a little unfortunate that Kurtz died there. Took 3 in a row, but he got off his anti-attack, so we probably won't be needing him for the rest of the fight. We're just gonna throw out max boost here. Okay, alright, cool. We're all set up to go. I'm gonna do this. And do max boosted here. I'm gonna not use any BP on Lucetta. And yeah, this is fine. Alright, we're basically finished with the fight at this point, so we're gonna just go ahead and utilize this break, and then we're gonna quickly break her on the following turn, using a lot of fan attacks. Once again, I'm not going to use any BP on Lucetta. Go ahead and 3 BP here, max here, 3 hit here. She's gonna come out of the crit phase, and we're just gonna attack her a bunch. And that's basically gonna do it. So we'll go ahead and we'll swap these. We can max boost this. Lynette's gonna break. And there we go. 34 turns. That's about where I figured it was going to end, around 35-ish turns. And yeah, I think the really important things to come out of this are assessing how much threat the opponent has on any given turn. As long as you know approximately how much damage is incoming, you don't have to play like absolutely safely. As long as you know that, like, oh, only Tikilen's going to attack this turn, you might not need to use a heal on a character like Mina or Millard or Hasumi, and you can instead use them for a bit of attacking, a bit of shield breaking. Obviously, if you have a much stronger offensive comp with characters like Scarecrow and Hana and things like that, then you can just kind of go hyper offensive. Especially once the new weapons come in, I expect that some of the higher end accounts will probably be able to clear this fight in probably around 12 to 15 turns, honestly. But as far as like a slower composition that wants to use some weaker characters, play a little bit more carefully, I think that the most important thing to know is how much you can afford to not heal at any given point. So, and that'll be especially useful for when you want to farm out those guide stones and farm out for the accessory with the refights. So, yeah, so this has been something a little bit different, obviously not scripted or anything like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one. This has been She's a Cats. See ya.